Thank you all for coming today to protest Labour's proposals to cut disability benefits in today's spring statement, especially since they just announced last night there'll be an extra £500 million cuts to disability support on top of what we already knew. We are going to be having some speeches, doing some chants, and a bit later we'll have a die-in to show the consequences of these cuts. Because people will die. We know that because people have already been dying under these systems. Hundreds of deaths directly attributed to the DWP, tens of thousands more caused by conditions and misery exacerbated by stress, poverty, isolation and cruelty. People are already suffering and they want to cut away more. I can't believe we're here again. I can believe it because I'm old enough to remember when this group of Labour MPs were in charge of social security last time. And they used that time to introduce sanctions, create the lethal work capability assessment, and hire Atos to automate a complex and individual process. But then we had 14 years of the Tories, and tens of thousands of disabled people died because of austerity, and tens of thousands more during COVID. And Labour told us they would be different. They'd reject this cruelty. So many disabled people held on through those years thinking we just need to get a Labour government and this will stop. And yet, here we are today, facing our so-called left-wing government, once again having to fight for disabled people's right to life. To save £5 billion, one of the biggest economies in the world is choosing to look straight past the unimaginable wealth accrued over the last 5 years by the richest people in our society, the billions transferred from the working class to the ultra-rich, and is focusing instead on the poorest demographics. 54% of poverty in this country is now disability-related. Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves talk about hard decisions. I don't know about you, but if I needed to raise money from my citizens and I had the choice between people with more money than they could possibly spend in a lifetime, who would suffer no ill effects from losing it, or taking it from people who will die without that support, it's not a hard decision. They say it's about encouraging people into work, but that has never been true. Starving people doesn't make them more likely to find a job. PIP isn't compensation for being disabled. It isn't a working benefit. It's meant to account for the many extra costs of being disabled. Like transport, specific dietary requirements, a need for more stable temperatures, mobility aids, treatments, and 1,000 other things you need to adapt. The only thing it has to do with work is it makes you more likely to be able to get there. And yes, there is a huge disability employment gap, but it's not because of us. We don't need CV assistance or confidence building. We need employers who will employ us. That's the sticking point, not whether or not we're too comfortable on our already not nearly enough benefits. Employers don't want to hire people who have variable conditions, who need to work from home, who need adaptations if they work in the office, who need flexibility because their abilities change unpredictably. Healthy people can't find work either. Rachel Charlton-Daly pointed out the other day that of the 115,000 jobs available on the DWP's job site, only 752 are fully work from home, and of those, only 2 are part-time. So before he takes money away from us, maybe stop subsidising companies which won't work on adapted employment contracts for disabled people. Even better, maybe focus on making sure employers don't force people out of work once they become disabled. So many newly disabled people through illness, injury or life-changing event find themselves pressured into medical retirement because workplaces don't want to do the work of adapting. Demanding disabled people who are not actually fit for work put themselves into that system only to find themselves discriminated against and bullied out again is an exercise in sadism. And this is all purely ideological. We know this will end up costing the country at least as much as it saves in legal fees through tribunals and coroners' inquiries, in the increased bills for health and social care as people who were previously managing their conditions become even more ill and need increasing amounts of care, as people need to leave the workforce to care for their loved ones whose conditions have worsened, as people fall into ever more dire poverty and need help with housing, debt and rescue. We know there are 1,000 other things the government could do to save this money, which would have no actual ill effect on anyone, despite the tantrums some extremely rich people might throw in the press. This is a choice being made by the people who were supposed to be the great hope of the working classes of the UK. It is a choice, and they have the power to choose otherwise. We have already lost so many people from our community from austerity and COVID, and we are exhausted, but we are furious. We will be there every step of the way until they reverse the cuts and give disabled people a chance to live the full lives we should be able to in one of the richest countries in the world. We will not go quietly. We will not acquiesce to this, and we will not let them kill us without a fight.